Hi everybody, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Heathen Vegan. My special guest cook today will be Goliath. I don't know if you can see him or not. He's sitting right here. Today we're going to be making grilled chicken. No, today we're going to be making garlic and chive, chicken cheese, spinach, and sun-dried tomato bread, and also wraps, because the mixture that we're going to make, there's going to be extra, so I'm going to make wraps out of them also. And for you cabbage lovers out there, we are going to make a summer cabbage salad complete with creamy dill dressing. Oh, that sounds good. Alright, so before I get into cooking, I like to always tell you guys what I'm going to use for ingredients. Stay tuned, because I am working on a website for my recipes that will make it easier for you guys to actually, if you're going to make these recipes, to do it, because you'll be able to print it out and everything. My dog keeps distracting me. You want to help? Actually, before we get into our ingredients, I do want to say thank you real quick for you guys that are subscribers. That's like really cool, and I really appreciate that. For those of you that are new, I hope that you like the channel, that you do try the recipes, and that you stick around, you become subscribers too, that you become part of the Heathen Vegan family. But anyway, if you do try this recipe, or if you have recipe ideas, I'd love to hear. If you do end up trying this recipe, or if you have recipe ideas, I'd love to hear about it down below in the comments. I also, I care about you guys. I'm really happy that we're starting this little community here of online, good for you, good for the planet, good for the animals cooking. So, even if you just want to say hi, leave a comment down below. It's always good to hear from you guys. It's good to hear and see who exactly is watching these. Okay, so without further ado, hopefully, Goliath. With our summer cabbage salad. You're going to use approximately 2 cups of cabbage. I guess that you could buy the packaged cabbage if you want. I didn't. I like to chop my cabbage up because I like my cabbage to be kind of, I don't know, I'm really weird like that. I like my cabbage to be a certain way. I guess I like more cubed than I do shredded. No, I'm really weird. You're also going to need about a 1/3 cup of zucchini and squash. That equates to about a half of a medium zucchini or squash. That equates to about a half of a medium zucchini and squash cut up. You're also going to need about a 1/3 cup of red pepper and green pepper, and then a 1/4 cup of red onion. In addition to that, I use Campari tomatoes, so I went and I sliced up 3 of those, and this is what I have right now. So with this, I do like to put a little bit of salt and pepper on this, just because of the fact that it almost makes it marinate. It brings out the natural flavors inside of the vegetables, so that they have a little bit more of a, style and a taste to them. Now, for this, we are gonna make a creamy dill dressing for this. It's really easy. The idea of my channel is to make sure that you guys are able to eat plant-based products that are good for you, and that takes minimal time to make, where you're not in the kitchen for days. That was being sarcastic. So what you're going to need, you're only going to need a couple ingredients for your creamy dill dressing. You are going to need veganese. You're going to need about a half a cup to a cup of veganese. You're also going to need a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. However you pronounce that. You're going to need a tablespoon and a half of spicy brown mustard. Hi, Stop and Shop, it's me again. And then you're going to need about 2 tablespoons of dill weed, and then some salt and pepper, and that's it for a creamy dill dressing, which I think is really cool. So now on to our garlic and chive, chicken cheese, spinach, sun-dried tomato, bread, and wraps. You could do one or the other if you choose to. I originally wanted to make like a stuffed bread type of thing. I realized in making this, this is my 3rd time making this recipe, that there's going to be leftovers, and that it tastes just as good with the wraps as it does with the bread. For bread, so since we're talking about bread, what I am going to use is, for the wraps, I found that Mission gluten-free wraps, they taste the best. They have the best consistency and resemblance of a flour tortilla. So I'll be using Mission for our wraps. For bread now, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this correctly. I hope that I do, but for those of you who've watched my channel before, you know that I sometimes, bless you, Goliath, you know that I sometimes have issues pronouncing words.
No.
Anyway, so I'm going to use char, gluten-free, French bread. This says baguette, I don't know. I'm just going to call it fresh. I'm just going to call it fresh.
No.
No, I'm just going to call it French. I'm not even going to call it anything. I can't pronounce it. So I'm just going to use Char's. So I'm just going to use Char's French bread. We're going to call it roll, because I don't know if that's baguette or whatever it's called. But anyway, it does come two to a package. It is a little bit pricey. It is about $7 and some change for this. It is really good bread. Char, hi Goliath. Char is my favorite gluten-free bread to use because of the fact that they don't put a lot of preservatives in there. And unlike a lot of other gluten-free products out there as far as bread and pastas go, well, we don't really need to talk about pasta, but as far as, unlike the other, thanks Goliath. So unlike the other gluten-free breads that are out there, Char doesn't use a lot of sugar. The thing is, when you start to become gluten-free, you'll notice that there's a lot of gluten-free products out there that use a lot of sugar. And I mean, we all do need a little bit of sugar here and there or throughout our day, but the amount of sugar that they're putting in their gluten-free products is just ridiculous. So this is the brand that I found that where it tastes really well. It does resemble your traditional wheat or, you know, your traditional flour bread. So this is what we're gonna be using, guys. Yeah. And this recipe with the top of the bread, I am going to spread some butter on top of it because of the fact that it's going to be toasted in the oven afterwards. With this bread also, you need to be careful because if you're going to follow along with this recipe, I'm going to hollow out the bread, and like as we get further into the episode, you know, I'll show you how to do it. But just be careful with it because it is gluten free. So it tends to be a little bit more delicate than your traditional flour bread. Anyway, you will have your oven preheated to 375. What I'm gonna do is, because this is my third time making this recipe, is I'm gonna par break.
What is he doing?
Oh no. This did not.
I'm gonna par break. I did it again. I'm gonna par bake my bread for about 5 minutes so that it gets a little bit crispy. Because what happens is if you don't par bake it and you just go and you put your butter on it and then you put your ingredients inside of it, what happens is that the outside gets a little bit The outside gets a little bit crispy, but then the inside is still really soft. I prefer for it to be like crispy all the way around. I know last week's episode I made General Tso's chicken, and I used the corn meatless pieces. Again, I'm going to use corn meatless pieces for this recipe. And what we're going to do is with the chicken, we're going to cook it first. And we're going to cook it in a marinade. And the marinade that I'm going to use, and if you want to follow along, is I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. Oh, whoa, will you look at that? Stop and shop, stop and shop.
What is he doing?
Oh no. This did not.
Anyway, so we're going to use a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil from Stop and Shop. We're also going to use a 1/3 cup of cherry cooking wine. We're going to use 1 bouillon cube of not chicken from Edwards. And then right here, I have the seasonings already mixed up. It basically is basil, it's oregano, it's parsley, and then it's also paprika. I really like the way that the paprika makes these chicken pieces taste. So to cook this up with the chicken, it's going to take probably about 5 to 8 minutes. I'm also going to put in there spinach, and you know, after the chicken's cooked, I'm going to put the spinach in there and let the spinach wilt a little bit. And with that, I'm going to end up putting it in the food processor. Now when I put it in the food processor, I'm going to put in about a 1/4 cup of sun-dried tomatoes. I don't want to cook the sun-dried tomatoes in with the chicken and with the spinach, and that's only because of the fact that I don't want the spinach. And that's only because of the fact I don't want the tomatoes to rehydrate. I want the tomatoes to stay dried. So now on to our cheese base. You are going to need some type of vegan spreadable cheese. You can use cream cheese. You can use, I'm going to use Tree Lion's cashew cream cheese. I really like this company. I really like this brand. I think they're fantastic. The flavor of their food is just great. So I'm going to use Tree Lion for my spreadable cheese. I'm going to use their cream cheese because I have it in my fridge and it's about to expire. I haven't used their cream cheese yet. I've used their spreadable tree nut French style scallion cheese, and that's really good. I've used that in this recipe before, and that's really fantastic too. So I'm hoping that this tastes good. You can also use Tofutti, another really good one to use. You are going to need 4 ounces of whatever spreadable cheese you decide to use. In addition to your 4 ounces of cream cheese or some type of spreadable vegan cheese, you are going to need 3 tablespoons of sour cream. I find that Tofutti actually is the best tasting sour cream, and it also has the best consistency. So for veganese, I'm going to use 2 tablespoons. Also, you're going to need about a half a cup of some type of vegan mozzarella cheese. I'm using Follow Your Heart, which is also the same company that makes veganese. I'm using a half a cup of their mozzarella cheese. And then also by Follow Your Heart, I'm using a quarter cup of their Parmesan cheese. This cheese is good. The reason why I use this cheese right here is because of the fact that I can't digest coconut oil. There's a lot of good vegan cheeses out there that they're made with coconut oil, and you're more than welcome to use those if you choose to. Again, this is just like giving you, again, you don't need to follow this to a T. This is just to give you guys ideas so that you can continue on your plant-based diet, which is awesome. And then we also have, in here I have 2 cloves of garlic chopped up. I have a fresh tablespoon of parsley in there, and then I have 2 tablespoons of chives. What you're going to want to do with this is, you're going to save half for the top of your bread, and then the other half you're going to put into your cheese mixture. So, with all that being said, and the introduction of all our beautiful, wonderful, plant-based, gluten-free products, we're going to get on to cooking some awesome food. Alright guys, let's do it! So, with your pan on the stove, what you're going to do is, you're going to put this to about a little bit over medium, not medium-high, a little bit under medium-high. Excuse me. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's how you're going to do it. And don't forget that you're going to need to preheat your oven to 375, okay? Sorry about that. So, I'm gonna like eyeball this, and since I'm gonna eyeball these ingredients, just because of the fact that I don't go out to eat. I haven't been out to eat, and I don't even remember how long. So, you are going to need a quarter cup of your olive oil. You're going to need a 1/3 cup of your cherry cooking wine. And then we're going to put in our seasonings, along with some salt and pepper, because you got to have salt and pepper. And then also we need our non-chicken bouillon cube. I don't know how many companies make gluten-free vegan bouillon cubes. This one is by Edwards & Sons. They've been around since 1978. I think they're a pretty good company, and I think that they really make the flavor. So let's put in about a teaspoon of our Whizzers vegan Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire. I like saying that word. Worcestershire. 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 However you pronounce that. I don't know what it is, how to pronounce it, but put a teaspoon of this in, okay? If you're using the corn, if you're using a different type of chicken, that's fine too. I mean, you know, do what makes you happy. This is a whole full bag. Give it a quick stir before you get the lid on, just so that you saturate your corn pieces. It is kind of important that you put the lid on it, just so that as it starts to cook, it doesn't absorb all of it, because you don't really want it to absorb all of that liquid. If it does, that's okay. Just put a little bit more cherry. If it does, that's okay. Just put a little bit more cherry cooking wine in there and a little bit more water in there. Like, mix it like, I think 1 in 1 to get yourself where you think that it's going to be good. I mean, I can't give you an exact measurement on that because I'm not too sure what your situation is going to be when you're cooking it, if it does happen to take up all of that. Now, with that, we're going to let that cook, and then we're going to start hollowing out our bread. So Char is great, even though this comes too. It comes already preparated, but I like just to use the scissors because I've had incidences before where I accidentally ripped the other one. If you want to use both of these breads for this recipe, that's fine. I like the recipe both this way, and I like the recipe both with the bread and with the wrap. So I'm going to put the other part of my bread into the freezer. I'm going to save this as a bruschetta bread for spaghetti bolognese. And then we'll get to hollowing out the bread. Remember that your chicken, these aren't going to take that long to cook. This is going to take like 5 to 8 minutes to cook. The reason why I'm cooking it now instead of doing all the other stuff is because of the fact that I want this and the spinach to cool before I put it in with the cheese spread, before I mix it in with the cheese, and before we bake it. And I know that sounds kind of like a strange thing, but it's really not, because if I take this and I put this into our mixture while it's hot, it could compromise the integrity of the cheese that we have. And I know you're like, well, what do you mean by that? I mean, we're going to put it in the oven, we're going to heat it up and everything like that, which is true. But if we put this in room temperature with our cheese spread, then the cheese spread, the enzymes inside of it isn't going to activate, because if you're using tree line, they have probiotics in there, and it's going to send those probiotics into a shock. And when it sends those probiotics into a shock, it's going to change the whole flavor of the cheese. And we don't want that. So, our bread. Once you get going with hollowing out the bread, it's a fairly easy process. It's the first part that gives you a little bit of an issue. It's going to be easier if you cut it in half. I mean, you can cut this any way you choose to. Oh my god, I'm so lucky. Look, it's already been started for me. I'm going to just keep it in half, because when I start to shove our mixture into here, I want it to go all the way down. And because of the fact that gluten-free bread is kind of expensive, I'm going to opt to save the inside and come up with some kind of recipe for it at some other point in time. While you're doing this, just make sure you keep an eye on your chicken, because fairly soon that will be done, and then you can take the lid off it. I'm going to take the lid off of mine right now. I'm going to let it cook up a little bit. Now when I take the lid off of my chicken, I did turn it down to a low-medium heat, and my chicken has absorbed most of the fluid, which is fine. So when I put the spinach in here, I'll put a little bit more of the cherry cooking wine in here, in addition to some salt and pepper. I'm going to let this cook up. Now don't forget with your bread that it's really important, if you want it to be crispy, that you par bake it for a quick minute. Alright, the chicken is cooked. Yes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put in some more. Of our cherry wine sauce. And then, as quick as we can, we're going to put in 2 cups of spinach. And once the spinach is wilted, we'll take this off the heat and we'll let this cool down to room temperature before we actually start our cheese spread. So I'm just gonna take like a little bit of olive oil and pretty much just like let it drizzle inside of the bread, if you can see that. I'm just gonna let it drizzle right in there. And I am also gonna put some salt in there and some pepper. Now I haven't put any type of oil on top of the bread yet, because of the fact that I'm just par baking this right now. Again, if you like it to be soft inside, you don't have to par bake it. I like crispy all the way around. I want this to be like a crispy type of like French baguette bread. So I'm going to put it in the oven and par bake it. This is looking really good. Our spinach is just starting to wilt, which is great. I think my spinach is wilted to the point that I like it, so I'm going to take this off the heat. I'm going to let that get to room temperature. Now, for me anyway, this might not be an important part for you. I really want to put this in the food processor. I want to get it so that it is first of all, easy to put inside the bread. Second of all, I want when you bite into the bread to be able just to like eat it. Where if I don't put it into the food processor because of the baby spinach and the stems that are in there, it's gonna have a different it's just gonna be a little bit different. And that's fine, you know, to each their own. We all have our own tastes and our own preferences, so that's great. If you don't have a food processor, don't worry about it. That's not the biggest deal. This isn't, you know, obviously, this isn't a fancy channel. This is just here to get good food out there for people who want to eat good food in less than pretty much a half an hour. So if you don't have a food processor, that's fine. What you can do is you can take it out of the pan before you do it, especially if you have a good pan. Take it out of the pan, put it in a bowl, and just take two knives and start crisscrossing it. You know, that is perfectly fine. So anyway, you have $20 to throw out. I would recommend this food processor because the fact it does a really good job, and it's super easy to clean up afterwards too. While we're waiting for our what we can do now while we're waiting for our bread to that's why I say so much, because I can't talk if I don't say so much. So, what we can do now while we're waiting for our bread to par-bake is we can start our cheese mixture for the rest of our recipe. Again, you're going to need 4 ounces of some type of vegan spreadable cheese. I am using tree nut, cashew cream cheese. I should have opened this beforehand. So, I am using 4 ounces of tree nut, cashew cream cheese. Like I said earlier in my episode, you are going to need 3 tablespoons of your vegan sour cream. My dog didn't go for a walk today. He's a little bit mad about that. And this is why. So after you get your cheese, your 4 ounces of cream cheese in there, your 3 tablespoons of sour cream in there, and then your tablespoon of veganese in there, you're going to put in your half a cup of vegan mozzarella and your 1/4 cup of vegan Parmesan cheese. Like I said earlier, I am working on a website, so it'll be easier for you guys to do these recipes if you don't want to follow along the video. That should hopefully be up soon. In addition to my recipes, if you think that the blog is a good idea, just leave a comment down below if you can and let me know what you think about that. I've been really thinking about it. I'm not really that much of a blogger. I know a couple people who do blog, and they have a good time with it, and I kind of want to have a good time with it too, so maybe that's a good idea. I'm not too sure. In addition to that, I will have a link to my Amazon page because the fact that I have published about 12 volumes of poetry so far, and I also written a couple of books. I will also put I'm also thinking about on this website to do some of the other art stuff that I've done. I've done a lot of work in Photoshop. I draw a lot. I paint a lot. So I'm thinking maybe that's a good idea for my website, just to like, I guess to make it cohesive and put everything all in one, because I do have separate websites. I make jewelry also, so I was thinking about putting like a page there on this website, just to bring all these websites together, because the fact that I have a graphic design website. I have a YouTube channel. I actually, if you guys didn't know this, I actually have a YouTube gaming channel too. I mean, I haven't been on there in a few years, but I do have that, so maybe I'll put that up there too. And anyway, so we're gonna get back to our cheese spread. So we have this going on. Our bread is just our bread needs about 2 more minutes in the oven. We're gonna put some salt and pepper in here. Anyway, I think I'm going to put about a teaspoon. I think I'm going to put about like a half a teaspoon of this in there too. Because I don't know if you guys have tried this yet or not, but it really does make food pop. And you're just like, wow. So we got that in there. We're going to mix this up. You need to put in half of your garlic and chive and parsley mixture. Just half of it, because we're going to save the other half for the top of our bread. It's going to take a quick second to really like get it so that it is mixed in properly. Alright, that looks good. I hope you guys can see this, because like I said, I'm still working on camera angles. And I am working on getting a kitchen island so that this hopefully flows a little bit better and you guys can see what's going on a little bit better. Thank you, though, for your patience. Thank you, though, for your patience. Thanks for coming here week after week and watching my videos and taking the time to subscribe or to comment. I truly appreciate that. And if you guys are friends of mine and if you guys follow my page on Facebook, The Heathen Vegan, I want to say thank you too, because if you guys follow me on Facebook at The Heathen Vegan, I want to say thank you. You guys are just like, it's just the community that I have found so far from starting this, especially since like the pandemic started and everything. It's been amazing. I've met some really fantastic people, and I'm so happy to know them, even if it is just through the internet. I've reconnected with some really cool people that I've known in my personal life that I'm just like astounded, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy that you guys are here, and I'm happy that we're growing this Heathen Vegan family. So again, you guys, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now let's get our bread out of the oven before it burns. So what we're going to do now is, while we wait for our chicken and spinach to cool off, and we're going to wait for our bread to cool off too. Ouch. We've already done our cheese spread. What we're going to make next is, I'm going to make sure that's cool. What we're going to make next is, we're going to make our creamy dill dip. No, what we're going to make next is, we're going to make our creamy dill dressing for our summer cabbage salad. Now we're going to make our creamy dill dressing for our summer cabbage salad. I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited to do this right now. What you're going to need is roughly about a cup of veganese. You're going to need a tablespoon of spicy brown mustard. You're going to need a tablespoon of this. Also, you're going to sprinkle some salt and pepper in there. And then we're going to do 2 tablespoons of our dill. We're going to give this a quick mix. This is our creamy dill. I hope you guys can see that. Can you guys see that? This is our creamy dill dressing for our summer cabbage salad. It looks fantastic. If you don't want to like mix the whole thing up at once, you absolutely 100% do not have to. Because what's going to happen, because of the fact that we're using such fresh ingredients, and that, excuse me, and that our dressing is pretty much made fresh, if you don't use this or eat this within like a day or so, it's going to go bad. It is. You know, especially because of the fact that we're using like organic vegetables and we're using like non-GMO ingredients that don't have any preservatives in them. So you're going to want to use this quickly. Excuse me. But if you want to like save this and save that and put it aside and just use a little bit at a time, that's perfectly okay too. I am going to make the whole thing. My daughter and my granddaughters are coming over today. Super excited, yay! And so my daughter and my granddaughters and my youngest son and I, we like to get together. And of course, I always cook when we do and just have a good time. Sometimes we'll have cookouts, sometimes we'll blow off fireworks, sometimes we'll just hang out and do whatever. So, but it's always a really good time when they come over. I love hanging out with them. I love just spending time with family. I think that's really important. So I hope that when they come over, because they haven't tried this yet, that they really enjoy it and they really like it too. And now we will put our dressing in there. So I'm putting it in this plastic container, and I'm only putting it in this plastic container because of the fact that I don't really want to take the time to stir this up. Like I just want to shake it, kind of like how in General Tso's chicken, where I took the cap and I just shook the chicken. So much easier. All you're gonna do is put the cap on if you have Tupperware, and then give it a good shake. Yeah. You're just gonna shake it up, and then this is what you get. This is really good, and it tastes really good too. So I hope you guys get a chance to make this and enjoy it. I'm gonna put the cap back on. And our bread is cooled off. I think our chicken might be cooled off too, so let's get on to that. So now, if you do have a food processor, this is the part where you're gonna put your chicken and your spinach in. If you don't have a food processor, guys, that's perfectly okay. If you don't want to mince it up so that it's more of like a chicken salad type consistency inside of your cheese base, you don't have to do that. I don't want this to be pureed too much because I don't want it to turn into a paste, because it will turn into a paste if you puree it too much. I want it just nicely chopped. Another benefit of par baking your bread is it's going to make it easier for you to get this mixture into the bread. But like I said, it's not a big deal. You know, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. At the risk of sounding like Bob Ross, it's your world, man. Do what you gotta do. Now, after we get this mixed up, we're going to put it into our bread, and then we're going to put it into the oven. I have tried the wraps a couple of different ways. I've tried the wraps, I've grilled them on a skillet with some lettuce, and that was fairly decent. I found, though, with the wraps, I actually really enjoy them without any lettuce and not grilled. So there's another option for you if you're going the wrap route. If you're going to do both, I think that would be great if you did both of them. You know, you can let me know how that came out for you. Again, if you guys are still sticking around during this video, you know, you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, that would be great. These guys are ready to go. And I'm going to take a smaller spoon. And I'm just going to start dipping it in there. Now, the first time I made this recipe, I did not par bake this bread, and let me tell you, I had a hard time getting this cheese in here, this mixture in here, and I had a hard time keeping the integrity of the bread intact. So with par baking it, that makes it easier. I hope my grandkids and my daughter likes this. My son really enjoys this. He really likes the wraps a lot. He's not a big fan of my summer cabbage salad. That's okay, though. He eats enough fruits and vegetables, so I'll let that one slide. I see that with this mixture, we have a lot left. And that's fine, too, because you know what? You can take this right here, and you can make a pasta dish out of it. You can make a rice dish out of it. You can make a sauce out of this. It's not the biggest of deals that it's not the biggest of deals that there's extra. I honestly hope that somebody somewhere out there tries this, because honestly, this came out really, really good, and I'm really proud of this recipe. We have our bread. It's been stuffed. I'm gonna put I'm gonna spread some butter on top of it. A quick side note too, if you're going to do the butter route, I suggest that you let the butter stay out while you're making this so that it softens. Vegan butter will soften very, very quickly. It just makes it easier to spread on top of the bread. So here's the really beautiful thing about this recipe, because the fact that you chick the cooking. Oh my god, did I really just say that? You chick the cooking? Is that really what I said? You cook the chicken first. You know, everything's pretty much made. You're just pretty much melting the cheese and the butter on this. So as soon as this is like melted, you'll be able to take it out of the oven. That's great. Let's get our bread out of the oven and see how it came out. Oh wow, this came out great. I'm gonna bring this in for a close-up so you guys can see this better. Guys, can you see that? Here we have gluten-free, vegan, chicken and cheese, spinach, sun-dried tomato, bread, garlic and chive bread. Alright, let's get this plated up and see how it looks. Alright guys, here it is. Both the cold and the warm version of our garlic and chive, chicken, cheese, spinach, and sun-dried tomato bread. On the left is our French roll. that we put in the oven. And on the right, it's just pretty much basically like a chicken wrap. Both of them taste equally as good. And then in the middle is our summer cabbage salad. Guys, if you would like this video, please leave a like. If you are new to the channel, I would love it if you would subscribe. If you guys even just want to say hi, leave a comment down below. It was so fun making this video today and talking with you guys and having a good time. My guest star Goliath is in the other room because he really wants some of this. But that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Heathen Vegan. Alright, my Heathen Vegan family, until next time, have a great day and thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it.